also as the pastor and leader of the Humble Walk. I'm a proud 2004 graduate from the University of Maryland, and I've now been serving as the chaplain for 9 years. So the Humble Walk is a Christian community rooted in Lutheran theology of God's radical love and grace. And we seek to be a voice for God's love and justice in not only the College Park community, but the world. Our name, the Humble Walk, comes from Micah 6, chapter 6, verse 8. What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? So we're doing this graduation gala online. We're used to doing it in person. We're used to having some food, our nice gourmet food from Costco. We're used to doing hugs and, of course, some tears together in person. But instead of canceling, we wanted to make sure that we could gather together for this last time here as a group. And of course, gathering online is something that especially our students have become very used to this semester. And Katie has become an expert in Zoom. So just a couple of things here as we get started. We'll invite you to stay muted throughout the program. Of course, seniors, when it's your turn to talk, make sure you unmute yourself, because we've all been there where we started talking and didn't realize we were unmuted. We weren't muted yet. But anyway, I will invite you, if you want to kind of give a response, like usually we would be clapping, but you can do something that we do in Humble Walk, which is kind of give a snap, or there's even a little button there that you can, what do you call it, a reaction that you can do that would clap. So feel free to do that. We'll also be sharing in the link here. Katie will be sharing how she did the program for today. So if you want to see kind of what order we're going in and what will happen next, you can click on that link for the program. And I'll also share that we're recording this today, and that's especially so that it can be shared with anyone who maybe wasn't able to make it live. And if you'd like us to send you the link for the recording, feel free to send us an email, lutheran@umd.edu. You can also email me or text me or send a note in the chat box today during the gala to myself or to Katie. Make sure to include your email, and we'll make sure to send that along the way, especially if you want to share with family and friends who couldn't be here today. So I want to acknowledge that this has been a difficult last couple of months, for the entire world. We haven't seen this kind of prolonged disruption to our society and our way of being for quite some time. And I'm just really proud of our seniors, and I know you all are too. This last semester especially hasn't been easy. It's not the ending that anybody wanted. It's not the post-graduation world that anybody hoped for or expected. And we've had a lot of great memories over the years, and I'm so glad to have had all of you seniors as a part of our ministry and as a part of my life too. So I know that I just said to keep yourself muted throughout, but I'm actually going to invite you, if you want to unmute, because I want to just clap for our seniors. I want to root them on because you guys have been amazing. So if you are unmuted, I'll invite you to show your appreciation for our graduates. Thank you, seniors, for all you do to make this ministry and the world a better place. So, now you can mute yourselves again. Let's begin in prayer. So I invite you to bow your heads with me. Dear God, you walk with us along the way, through the valleys and on the mountaintops, in the beauty and in the uncertainty. You cry with us, you celebrate with us, and most of all, God, you love us. I give you thanks that we can be church together whether that's in person or digitally, along that journey of life. And I give thanks for each of these graduates who have showed us a little more of what your love and your grace looks like. For Alyssa, for Grace, for Amanda, for Tim, for Emily, for Becca, and for Lauren. Thank you, God, for them, for their families and friends, for all who have supported them along this journey. Thank you for the stories that they will carry with them from their time here with the Humble Walk, and with all the great things that you have in store for them in the years to come. Amen. So on to our first senior sharing. Our first graduate who's going to share came from the farthest away of the group, all the way from Massachusetts. And it happens to be her birthday today. So Alyssa, you came at the beginning of your sophomore year, and that's when you started coming regularly, and we're so grateful that you never left. You've been the one that I always knew I could talk about how our men's basketball team is doing. And you've been a strong leader for our ministry, dependable, passionate, and present with people. So please feel free to snap and welcome Alyssa.
Hi, so I'm Alyssa, and as Pastor Ray said, I first entered the Humble Walk my sophomore year. And at that time, I didn't quite have a place on campus where I felt that I belonged. Nearly immediately, I was taken aback by how genuine and welcoming everyone was at the Humble Walk, and I knew that this was a ministry that I wanted to be a part of. More so, I was surprised to learn that this ministry contains students with a variety of majors from many different places and with many different interests. Whether you're a freshman or a grad student, want to be slightly involved or heavily involved, whether you're introverted or extroverted or whatever else, there's a place for you at the Humble Walk. All that being said, what it is that brings everyone together here and what makes this ministry unique is the people and the time and the energy and the thoughtfulness that everyone invests in each other, as well as their selfless desire to learn from one another. As I became more involved, I came to embody these values and invest in others the way others invest in me. One of my favorite parts of this ministry has been the couple of trips I've been on with the Humble Walk. There are many stories I could tell about the places we went and the people we interacted with on these trips. However, I want to tell you about a very specific group of people I met in Taizé last June. For those of you who don't know, on our trip to Europe last summer, we spent a week in Taizé, an ecumenical Christian monastery where young adults from all over the world come to stay. While some of our day is spent in worship or doing our assigned chore, there is also ample time to engage with and get to know other students and young adults from around the world. In fact, our group as the Humble Walk often made it our goal to not talk to each other and force ourselves to go out and meet with people. For this reason, I was lucky to be assigned to a small Bible group with 8 young adults from 5 different countries and diverse perspectives. I was the only person from the US in this group. So this made for a very insightful and engaging discussion, which ranged from everything from theological discussion to the correct way to pronounce aluminum, because there was someone from London in my group. Honestly, I've never felt more connected to a group of people in such a short amount of time and learned so much in one short week. Our discussion time together was only supposed to last about an hour each day, but we often talked longer, and it always left me with new thoughts and questions. We made a WhatsApp group upon leaving, which we haven't used much, but it's still nice to know that we're still connected, and I think about them from time to time. So as I said, it's the people who have made a difference for me in the Humble Walk. This is not restricted to the people in the Humble Walk. The opportunities I have been offered through this ministry have allowed me and encouraged me to engage with, learn from, and grow alongside others as we continually challenge, encourage, and support one another. And this is what has made a difference for me during my time here.
Thanks, Alyssa. Really appreciate you and your sharing, and thanks so much for joining us also on your birthday. Our next speaker is our only December graduate this year. You might have seen her on campus leading yoga classes or speaking French. Or now you might see her working at the National Institutes of Health in important research. She has a wonderful, welcoming smile, and I just love how she encourages all to connect their faith through the arts, and especially dance, and that message too of God being outside of buildings. So I invite Grace to share.
Thanks so much. Oh my goodness, hi. This feels so weird. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I graduated in December, so I got a real graduation. So I just wanted to say just a heartfelt thank you and a big congratulations to the class in the spring that might not have gotten that experience, but know that you are loved and that you're cared for, and that we all really want to celebrate with you too. But anyway, so I guess this is my time to say something. So I guess I started in my freshman year, first semester. I'm sorry for a little bit of the weird voice, and I didn't think I'd get emotional, but here we go. Yeah, so I started my freshman year, and I guess I continued all the way to the end, like 4.5 years, right? And I'm sorry, guys. But I think just what really, really surprised me was that, I'm sorry, Chris. Should I go later? I don't know. Is that something I can do?
No need to apologize, and no, take you're good.
But wait, can I actually go later? Can I like swap with someone? Is that okay?
Yeah, we'll come back to you, Grace.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we love you. Well, so actually we'll go into and Grace, why don't you just send me a message in the chat when you feel like you're ready. We're actually going to go next. We asked the seniors and the graduates, I should say, to send in some baby pictures. And so we're actually going to have a thing here where we'll share the baby pictures and also invite you to just think about who you think might be in those baby pictures. We have the pictures of all the graduates at the bottom. Katie, do you want to bring up the slide? And we're only going to show you some of the baby pictures now. We're going to show you the others later, and we'll tell you who they are later, but give you a chance to picture match here. So here are 4 of our wonderful graduates' baby pictures here, and you can try to guess who is in that group. I wonder if I guess the seniors know that they sent these pictures in, but I wonder how many folks would be able to identify their own picture. If you want to, you can jot down, A, B, C, and D, but this one, unlike some of our things, it's not a competition and we won't have any prizes. All right. So our next speaker, if you would walk in on a Sunday night worship, you might see her dancing in the back to some of the music. She just has a wonderful, welcoming presence about her. You can really just see that she loves others and has a joy for the Lord. And she's been busy during college, not only with Humble Walk in terms of going on trips or leading a new service program that we started this year, but also having done some teaching stuff abroad in Germany, being a leader with the Scouts, doing internships, and oh yeah, getting married to another one of our wonderful graduates, Tim. So I invite you to please welcome Amanda.
Hello, everyone. The Humble Walk has been an amazing experience for me. Freshman year, I knew I wanted to join a Christian group on campus, but had a really hard time first semester trying to find one where I fit in. Then later that year, I'm so grateful that Lauren invited me to my very first Humble Walk, which I, of course, brought my boyfriend at the time, but now husband too. I wasn't sure I'd like it at first since I'm Baptist and this is a Lutheran ministry, but hey, Lauren invited me and we all Christian, so I can at least go once to try. Then it was everything I had been looking for. It fit us perfectly, and I actually felt included in the family right away. Humble Walk thrived where other ministries had fallen short for me before. I had truly felt welcome and part of the community here. I continued to come week after week, loving this family more and more, from friends to Labor Day parties to Brandon songs, especially the sheep one, to game nights, to getting engaged right before service on the steps to Hope, to some very pivotal trips. I started with the Ocean City retreat, where I connected with fantastic people from UMD and beyond. Then I was also able to visit the Holy Land, which I had always dreamed about but never thought an actual possibility. I continued on to the enthralling community of Iowa, and then Europe. All the while, I continued to get more involved with Humble Walk, from being in a huddle with Tori, to leading a huddle, to even being treasurer, which, not going to lie, was very hard. So thank you, Lauren, for being so good at it. This semester, I even ventured out to be the Start Peer Minister, which has an emphasis on teaching art to elementary school students, which didn't last long, but we did continue with some Zoom calls, which were quite delightful. Overall, I've had a wonderful time here with the Humble Walk, and my life is better for it. Thank you all for helping me strengthen my connection to God, to the Christian community, the whole overall up, out, and in triad, to friends, opportunities, and just everything.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda. And Tim, thank you for those really meaningful words. Since Tim wasn't one of the speakers, but I do want to just share how I have really appreciated Tim doing so much work behind the scenes and making these happen. He is one guy who you never had to ask to help. I would turn around and he already had started putting away the chairs or the tables, and you are just a joy and bring some comedic relief too. And Amanda, thanks also she jumped into the start position, this new ministry as she mentioned, with elementary school kids in North College Park. And I think we had maybe 3 sessions before we were sent home due to the crisis. Not exactly how we pictured it, but giving it a good footing to get going strong for next year. Our next person that we wanted to take an opportunity to recognize, it's a special person who has made decades of contributions to campus ministry. His name is Chuck Sturtz. Chuck and his wife Judy are members of Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Gaithersburg. They came to Maryland, a few years ago from Michigan, and I think it's Wayne State University. I think that's right, Chuck. And then came on to the staff at University of Maryland, serving as the Vice President of Administrative Affairs. In 2004, he received the President's Medal of Honor, which is the highest award that the university can bestow. It recognizes an exemplary record of sustained service and acknowledged contribution to the quality of life on the campus. The person's career should be distinguished by a dedication to the fulfillment of the campus goals and missions, by professional accomplishments, and by campus service. And in a lot of ways, I've always seen Chuck's contribution to campus ministry as kind of this perfect match of his love to the University of Maryland community and the students, with his love of God and the church. He and Judy have been strong supporters of campus ministry for many years, and he's served on our board, the directing committee, several different times, including when I first became chaplain. And Chuck, I'm just so thankful for all you do and the ways in which you welcomed me and helped me come into this position as chaplain. We would not be where we are today without you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chuck to share a few words. And we're going to actually have to unmute you here.
There.
Great, there you are.
There we go. I'd say my voice is kind of under the control of Parkinson's disease. So it comes and goes, and I'll try to make myself heard, but if not, just wave your hand. My words I want to share with you relate to how I spent a career of roughly 50 years in association with youth and young adult ministries of the congregations in which we were members. I grew up in a little community called Sulphur Springs in central Ohio. There were 7 in my graduating high school class. So it's a small community. It's like the case with many small communities, you kind of want to get away as fast as you can when the opportunity presents it. So I became active in Luther League, served in Luther League committees and programs and through my high school years. That led me to Wittenberg University. Anybody heard of Wittenberg University? In Springfield, Ohio, where music was pretty much my commitment of time other than my studies. So that after graduating from Wittenberg, I headed off to Wayne State University in Detroit to pursue a master's degree in public administration. It was an easy, quick year and a half, very rewarding personally, professionally, and it also allowed me to continue my commitment to Christ by attending Christ Lutheran Church in East Detroit. After that, we got married and headed off to our life together. Started rather quickly by 2 years in the Army. So in the Army, you don't do much practicing of your religion in a corporate sense. It's very much a personal commitment and personal task that you undertake. We came back out of the Army, and I went back to University of Lutheran Church in East Lansing, Michigan. I don't know if any of you know, but East Lansing and Michigan State University have been bulwarks in campus ministry for years and years. Judy's sister was a campus minister at University of Lutheran. That was a congregation-based ministry. And just a fantastic time, period for us of adjustment in a young marriage, a new couple on the road, new opportunities to become involved with new people. And it was very enjoyable, joy-filled time. It kind of deepened our already strong commitment to the workings of Christ in our daily life. After about 15 years there, we headed off to Detroit, where we had a different kind of a campus ministry experience. Wayne State University was the hub of a 5-college and university ministry. So the campus pastor didn't get to luxuriate like Ray does. He's got to spend half his time driving around 3 counties in Michigan, attending to matters at three different institutions. Quite a drag and quite a task to accomplish. That commitment carried us through to the University of Maryland in 1982, where again, and back to a facility-based, campus-based hosted community. I always thought that I had a responsibility to be a voice for Lutheran matters at the campus, and every opportunity presented itself. In 25 years of being vice president of 2 institutions, I was the only Lutheran ever to be a member of the president's staff in that period of time. So I always felt that I had an additional burden and responsibility to speak up, to keep an eye out for, to help, to hold the hand of the chaplain if she wanted that to happen. Beth wasn't strong on holding hands, but she was strong on coming to me and begging for some help. So she had, as you know, probably interest in the police work and a custodial work. And the folks who are suffering these days under the tremendous burden of the epidemic that's brought in the country. All of this is to say that there's an opportunity for everyone to do something and do it for a long period of time when you're associated with campus ministry. Your students come and go so quickly that always the turnover makes a fresh crop of candidates for things to do in Christ's work on the campus. So I've enjoyed my time with the campus. I didn't get to meet any of you, I don't believe, but I welcome you with a good heart and wish you the best in all your work from this point on. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck, for your legacy, for all you've done to put so many on your shoulders, for the many ways that you have supported students, staff, faculty at the university, and this campus ministry, and myself. We really, really appreciate you. Well, I think Grace probably wanted to go again because she wanted a second introduction. She didn't like that first introduction, so she wanted a better one the next time. No, I'm just kidding. But Grace, we'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Sorry, guys. Thanks for the patience. So I think Pastor Ray did actually describe it pretty well, and I think I'm very grateful that kind of was conveyed, that I think a lot of the way that I at least like to experience God and share God is outside of the building, is conversation. And when I think back to my time, I'm just so grateful that was really embraced, and that was, I felt like people kept adding fertilizer to my soil to keep growing all the plants that I get to see on my long walks every day. But yeah, so I think, and even just, schedule wise, I think I was a little bit of a unique case in that I, wasn't able to come to services every week because I had a club that was art focused. And to me, that was something really important to hold on to and to share, because that's a way that I witness God and share God and feel his presence in a way. So I was very grateful and surprised sometimes that even though I wasn't able to be physically there in these times all the time, I always felt a very strong sense of welcoming and support, regardless, which I thought was just really spoke to kind of God's mission that, it doesn't matter if you're there every week for service. What really matters is that you're all working together and trying to support, which I just think is really beautiful. So I think kind of some specifics, I guess, are that I straight off of yoga teacher training, I decided to do that in my sophomore year. I was able to teach at Hope, which was really, really neat. I'm sure everyone had to be a little bit patient with me at the beginning as I, got off my feet with all of that. And I think though that's not technically something that you would traditionally think as being something in God, I think is a way that I like to contribute to the community, and is a way that I like to engage with people. And I think even in this pandemic, I've kind of realized that I finished a second round of yoga teacher training, and I was kind of burnt out, because I did a little bit too much at the end, and I didn't do yoga for a really long time. And then I had some friends, actually, Amy was saying, we want to do some yoga. So I taught a little class for her and her boyfriend, and just kind of was reminded of how community can come in kind of some unlikely places, and that's something that I really like to contribute to. So I'm very grateful for that support. And I think even Pastor was saying, of course, I did a lot of languages and stuff like that in school. And I was very grateful to be able to kind of bring that internationalness that I kind of have, and to grow with that in Taizé and grow with that in Haiti, and get to really get a holistic sense of how I like to view God and how I like to contribute to it. So lots of growth, lots of opportunities, and just a very strong sense of gratefulness for everyone. That's what I got.
Thanks, Grace. Merci. Merci pour tout. Really appreciate you and all the different things that you've taught me and others. Well, it was only 2 years ago that our next speaker was up here at the Graduation Gala saying goodbye. Since then, she served a year with the Young Adult and Global Mission Program in the Holy Land, and then delighted all of us by becoming our program assistant this year. It was hard enough to say goodbye the last time. It's even harder this time, but we still have her for a couple more months. Katie has done so much for the ministry and for the students. She's a strong leader who carries out events and mentors students, mentors others one-on-one or in groups. And she works tirelessly behind the scenes to make the ministry go. She, of course, put together everything that you're seeing on the slideshow and is making that work too. Katie, you've blessed this ministry and you've blessed me and my family immensely this year and in years past. You've also dealt with that enormous challenge. I can't imagine, what you signed up for back last year at this time, and then everything moving online during this current outbreak. And it's not like we slowed down. We actually continued doing a lot of our programs and even added some. And it's hard to believe, but we are probably busier now than we were last year at this time, other than our trips. So Katie, thanks for all you do, and it's your turn to chat.
Thank you. Let me pull up my notes here. So like Pastor Ray said, I gave a speech back when I graduated in 2018, just like our seniors are doing today. And when Pastor Ray asked me to talk today, I honestly thought it was kind of silly. I had given my speech 2 years ago. I'd done the thing, I did it. And I thought that I would just be saying the same things that I did 2 years ago. But honestly, I have new things to say and new things to share. And I think that's the true beauty of the Humble Walk and of campus ministry. It's ever changing and ever evolving. And as I look back on this past year as program assistant, I feel like I have 2 main takeaways. First, I have learned just how special the Humble Walk is. Before getting a behind the scenes look this year, I never realized how much goes into running a campus ministry. Pastor Ray, our administrator Beth, and our student leaders put in so much work to keep this ministry not only functioning but thriving. It takes a lot of work just to organize our weekly worship event on Sundays. And honestly, our campus ministry, it could just end there. We could have our weekly worship and that could be the whole of the Humble Walk. But time and time again, I see Pastor Ray look for domestic and international opportunities for our students. I see our administrator Beth put in hours of work to make sure the difficult logistics run smoothly. I see our alums like Uzama and Tori come back to ministry to build more relationships with students and to lead small groups. And I see our students looking for ways that the Humble Walk community can be involved with the greater campus and the surrounding communities. The Humble Walk isn't your normal campus ministry, and I think this year showed me that more than ever. My second takeaway is that our students are really, really, really awesome. As the program assistant, I get to see the work and the love that the students put into our community. I had weekly meetings with Sonia and Anna, who were our student leaders for our after-school programs in Camino and Caring Kids. These meetings were a time for us to brainstorm ideas for that week of how we can engage with the students and how we can work with our university volunteers. And it was a time for me to help and to support Sonia and Anna. And I can tell you that 9.5 out of 10 times they would come to these meetings already completely prepared. They would have clearly put a lot of time and work and thought into these programs. And it was really just a time for me to be amazed and inspired by them because I could see the love that they had for this community. Before worship every Sunday, I would be there early to set up. Our seniors, Emily and Becca, along with Brandon and Matthew, would be there early to practice every week for the music for worship. That meant each week I got a little sneak peek before everybody else. And honestly, watching and hearing them practice was one of the highlights. If you could see me before a weekly worship, I'm often going this way and that way and running and making sure all the little bits and pieces are all taken care of. And whenever they would start practicing, I would be like, I could take a breath and be like, yeah, this is why we're here. Not only because I love the songs that they're playing, but I get to witness their hard work and their talents that they have through this ministry. I saw firsthand the leadership and the creativity our students have through our leadership and executive team. They love the Humble Walk so much, and it shows in how much they work to make it better, and to share God's love with as many people as possible. My own faith and love for this ministry was strengthened through witnessing them. I saw the passion for justice and inclusivity through our students. They fight for what they believe in. They work to make sure all people are welcome in our church. They advocate for the environment by adopting the stream in front of Hope Lutheran Church. They are constantly educating themselves and educating each other. And they inspire me to do this in my own life and in my communities I will be a part of in the future. Most of all, I saw how great these students are through the little things, through the weekly things that might feel like just a routine. My favorite thing to do was watch them interact with each other. I loved seeing students around dinner tables on Sunday nights, engaged in conversation together. I loved watching them walk into our worship space and write their prayers on our prayer wall. I loved watching them play intramural sports and cheer each other on. I wish I could have joined in playing in the sports, but I loved watching from the sidelines anyway. I loved seeing our In Camino and our Caring Kids tutors come every single week and form such strong bonds and relationships with their elementary school buddies. The passion and love for community that these students have for one another and for our campus ministry will be something that I will pull from in my own future. I always said that when I was a student, that I wished I could just do Humble Walk stuff 100% of the time and not have to go to class. And I want to thank Pastor Ray for asking me to be the program assistant because that's exactly what I got to do this year. Thank you to the students for making this a great year, and I wish you all the best in your futures. Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. You probably don't know, but you have just meant so much to our campus ministry, and it's just a great testament to your gifts and that you bring and the ways that you share God's love with others. We've just been so blessed by you, and thanks also for mentioning that we have, this isn't a one-person thing. This couldn't happen without you, without Beth, without a board, our directing committee. There's so many whose work and love and sweat just go into this ministry and these students. So thank you for all that you do, Katie. Our next speaker is, I think, the only student that I can say that I knew since around when she was born. Emily and I share a special bond in that we were members of Trinity Lutheran Church in Reisterstown as we were kids. Of course, there's a little bit of an age difference there. And that means that her family actually has known me since I was about 3 years old. And they have been so kind and gracious not to tell Emily any embarrassing stories about middle school me or elementary school me or high school. Anyway, thank goodness. But Emily is deeply kind and caring, and you'll especially find her sharing her amazing musical gifts with the Humble Walk. She plays piano and has an amazing voice, and we've been so lucky to have her leading our praise team Sunday nights for several years. Emily, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I remember when Pastor Ray first reached out to me about joining the Humble Walk. I was hesitant at first, and it took me a little while to start going, even after we met up and talked in person. And as he said, the crazy connection that Ray and I have is that we come from the same home church in Reisterstown. So that at least helped nudge me along and convinced me that maybe this congregation was something I should check out. And as a freshman in the fall semester, I was picked up from my apartment and driven to my first service. And I had no idea at the time just how much the Humble Walk and Pastor Ray would come to mean to me. I started going to more and more services, and as I met more people and ate more awesome dinners and had fun singing more songs at worship, I began to grow more attached to this community. As soon as people found out that I played piano, I was encouraged to join Joyful Noise as the keyboard player. And despite some really early mornings, and despite the fact that I still have trouble wrapping up chords, sorry, Brandon, I had some good experiences with the band. Before I knew it, I became even more embedded in the music of the Humble Walk when I took over playing piano and eventually picking the music for the services. This has by far been one of my favorite parts of being in the Humble Walk. I'm so lucky to have gotten the chance to play music every Sunday and to spend time with some amazing and talented people like Brandon, Becca, and Matt. The music of Humble Walk has been a staple and a constant during my time at UMD, and I'm grateful to have had an outlet for my musical passions and to have a pastor and a congregation that believes in my abilities so much. I was even asked to engage in musical activities when we went to our trip to Europe last summer, which brings me to another highlight of my time with the Humble Walk. I didn't go on every trip the church had to offer, but the ones that I did choose were nothing short of fantastic and fulfilling. The trip to Europe in particular, that came after I was in and then led my own huddle, was one of the best trips I have ever gone on. And I learned so much about myself and the people around me as we went to Germany, Switzerland, France, and Hungary. I could speak for the longest time about that trip, and I have countless memories from that time, including some videos and candid pictures that are the least flattering images of me I have ever seen. But I'll share just a few highlights. Napping and getting sunburnt in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Spending time with college students in Munich who passionately sang "Take Me Home, Country Roads," and wandering the city with some awesome guys who made my day. Shout out to Brandon, Max, and Maddie G. Jumping into Lake Geneva and staying with the most welcoming family in Switzerland. In Taizé, changing the toilet paper and filling the soap dispensers with Brandon and Sarah every day. Eating dark chocolate and rolls every morning. Engaging in Taizé-style meditative worship. Walking through the countryside to a wine and cheese farm, and singing at our own mini Taizé worship that we held for anyone who wanted to attend. Playing a piano at a French church service in Lyon. And in Hungary, learning about the Roma, going to a wine tasting, eating some amazing gelato, and seeing breathtaking architecture. even though there were many times when nobody knew what the heck was going on, even though I used a microfiber cloth as a towel, and even though I definitely didn't smell too great. That trip was a highlight of my life. The glue of that trip and every aspect of the Humble Walk is the people, of course. And the individuals I have gotten to meet in this church are inspirational, strong, intelligent, talented, and capable of doing anything they put their mind to. The people of Humble Walk have been my favorite part of my experience there. From Labor Days to the Advent parties and garden parties to game nights and everything in between. The Humble Walk and the people that are a part of it have been a joy and an absolute blessing. I am so, so grateful for every single person with whom I have made a connection. The amazing thing about the Humble Walk is how accepting and open they are. At the beginning of every service, there is a statement about how every person who wants to attend is welcome. Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter where you are with your faith, if you grew up in the church, if you didn't. It doesn't matter what your gender is, or your race, or your sexual orientation. Any way that you identify is welcomed. This aspect of the Humble Walk has been so helpful to me. Most people know that I have gone through identity struggles and some other trying times in my life while at UMD, and I knew that no matter what was going on, no matter how I felt, or what I believed, or how I identified, whether I had myself figured out or not, I was going into a place of love and a place of acceptance every time I stepped into that building. And I was able to be completely honest with everyone there. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to put on any sort of facade to feel welcomed. And at the center of all of this, the person who is welcoming personified is Pastor Ray Ranker. I honestly don't know how someone like him exists, but I'm happy he does. I've met up with him to talk multiple times, and I feel listened to. I don't feel judged, and I believe that it was meant to be that Ray came into my life when he did. Pastor Ray is such a goofball. Just a smile and a hug or a high five is enough to make things at least a little bit better. He is such a caring, generous person that makes us think with his sermons and tells stories that help us be kinder, better people. Pastor Ray, thank you so much for welcoming me so enthusiastically, for being there for me and for my family who is obsessed with you, for turning a lot of our songs in worship into hoedowns, and for setting an example of what it means to live in the light, to shine with joy and love, and to walk humbly. It hasn't always been easy for me these past 4 years, but you've always been there. All of you have. Thank you, Humble Walk, for being such amazing people. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for loving me. And thank you for helping to make my time at UMD truly a blessing.
Thanks, Emily. You are so strong and just a light for me and for all of us. And I hope everybody took note there that her highlights included changing toilet paper and being smelly. I think it's maybe the best advertisement for Humble Walk. We will make you love changing toilet paper and stinking up the place. Thanks, Emily. Well, let's go back to our next round of baby pictures and see if you can match these last three, and then we'll give you the answers. So here they are. And I'm amazed. I just want to point out, there you have it in letter F. I'm not going to give it away, but you have somebody talking on the phone, which is something that the students don't like to do these days. I love to talk on the phone. I mean, that's one of the ways. I mean, I like being in person better, but I would love to pick up the phone and give calls. And there aren't too many that are excited as I am to talk on the phone, but there was a time. So Katie, let's go to the next slide here, and you can get your answers, match them up. There's Emily. First Christmas. Tim. Here's Lauren. Amanda. Here's Alyssa. Becca. And Grace. Great, thanks for sharing those wonderful pictures with us. Well, our next speaker made the long journey to College Park all the way from Montgomery County. But hey, he had to cross the county line to get here. So Becca has amazing musical gifts also. She's been singing for our ministry for a couple of years now. And this year was a little different, of course, not just because of the COVID pandemic, but also because we had several of our beloved students graduate last year who loved to sit in the front row right in front of Becca and sing really, really loud and not always in key, right in her face. But I'll chalk it up to the fact that, Becca, your beautiful voice and your skill in leading us in song was just really inspiring. And I don't know how you did it sometimes with that, but thank you, Becca, and we'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's spoken so far. It's really nice to just hear everyone's thoughts and everyone's voices. So I guess I'll start off by saying the most important and most wonderful thing that I experienced at the Humble Walk was just everyone being so accepting and welcoming and so non-judgmental about anything. And I guess giving a little backstory to that is, as a freshman, I really had a terrible time. I wanted to transfer. I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna stay here and be happy at the University of Maryland. Absolutely no way. And during that year, I received an email from the Humble Walk recruiting me because Pastor Ray has connections to my home church, St. Luke, and so I received an email and I was like, yeah, no way. There's no way, because I was like, who is going to judge me the most? People from the church, of course, that's what's going to happen. And so I didn't know. And so fast forward until 2018, and I look back on my freshman year self and she is just unrecognizable. There's just like complete 180. And so the fall of 2018, I see this ad or like email through this like mass choir email list, and it says singer needed for the Humble Walk Lutheran Campus Ministry. And I was like, oh, what the heck? Sure. Yeah, go for it. So I meet with Pastor Ray, and basically all he does is like, oh, can you sing? Like, can you sing well? And I was like, I guess, I don't know. Like, I have no idea. And he's like, great, we'll see you Sunday. Okay. And I was like, you don't want to hear me sing or like anything at all? And so I show up on Sunday, I'm like shaking like a leaf. I didn't even know any of the songs prior. I had never heard them before, even though I'd been part of the church my whole life. I didn't even know how that was possible. And so I'm terrified. I think everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, she's terrible, because I'm singing next to two people that are just ridiculously talented. Like, it just like, I was like, they're going to blow me out of the water. I'm not going to know any of the notes. And so of course I mess up. There's no way. And I was just mortified. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the end. And so, but then part of the worship is the grace moment. And it's a part of the service where someone comes up, a member of the Humble Walk, and just shares a time in their life where they feel connected to God, or they felt like they just wanted to share it with someone. They just felt like they wanted someone to say it to. And at that moment, when I first saw my first grace moment, I was just like, yeah, this is not what I thought this was going to be. Like, it totally stripped away that all those preconceived notions of, oh, these are people that are going to judge me for everything about me. And that just was not true at all. And that carried for the rest of the time that I was at the Humble Walk, which was 2 more years. And every single person I met was just like loving and welcoming, and especially Emily and Brandon and Wes and Katie and Pastor Ray, just everyone was just like welcoming me with open arms and never questioned a single thing. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone.
Thanks, Becca. In all due fairness, you did come highly recommended by your choir director, and I did do a little reference check there, unbeknownst to you, but you have blessed us in so many ways, not just your voice, but also with your amazing voice. So thank you so much. Our final student speaker, is joining us from Pennsylvania. And I was kind of wondering about this, wondering about it with Katie. I think I could probably count the number of times Lauren didn't make it to a Sunday night Humble Walk worship on one hand. But of course, that doesn't count her studying abroad in Germany. We have loved her so much that I really tried my best to stop her from going abroad. I'm just kidding, but seriously, I did. No, I'm half joking, but she is just amazing. She goes the extra mile all the time. She cares so deeply about others, about God, about the community that she's been a big part of building. And she steps up. She probably shared a few laughs with others as she found herself leading the intramural sports this year. And it's just a great example of maybe not exactly the first thing that she would jump at, but we wouldn't have had that joy of being able to do that together without her leadership. She also, as was mentioned before, she spent several years as our treasurer and really secured for us thousands and thousands of dollars to be able to do our caring project at En Camino and START, especially. Without her work, without that diligence, we wouldn't have been able to have the impact we have had. So Lauren, I turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. When I think about what Humble Walk has meant to me in the past 4 years, the first word that comes to mind is community. And this term community has come to mean so much more than just the Humble Walk community, but also the larger ELCA, as well as Lutherans around the world and our neighbors in every part of the world. My time with the Humble Walk started not too long after I first arrived at the UMD campus. As an out-of-state student, I was trying to just find where I fit in on campus. And that is exactly what I felt when I first walked into the Humble Walk that first Sunday evening. Pastor Ray was the first one to greet me as I walked through the door, and everyone, and I mean absolutely everyone in that room, opened their arms to me. I have never felt so welcomed in my life. And I knew instantly that the Humble Walk was a community that I would cherish for all 4 years that I was on campus, and I'm sure I'll be back very soon. Everyone at Humble Walk has become such an integral part of my support system through the grace moments, the Sunday night dinners, and the walks that I've had with Pastor Ray around the chapel. I have found that I can be genuinely open, which is kind of hard for me, and brutally honest, and I just receive nothing but love in return. And it's that love that I've felt in this community that is truly astonishing and humbling. But going beyond the Humble Walk community, I have truly enjoyed challenging myself to walk in accompaniment with others who I don't even know. Whether that was with Hope Lutheran Church, with Wartburg Theological Seminary and the community of Dubuque, Iowa, or even across the world in the Holy Land and during the Europe trip. And I would definitely say without a doubt that my experiences in the Holy Land and as part of an interfaith cohort have been the most challenging yet most rewarding experiences of my entire college career. Where I grew up, I did not know any Jews or Muslims, and I really just associated them with historical events and stereotypes in the media. They weren't really people because I didn't know anybody. But when given the opportunity to join an interfaith cohort, I'll admit that I was hesitant at first to journey into this unknown territory, meet people who I assumed were so different than me. And then this hesitation was even more so when Pastor Ray said, "Hey, you want to go to the Holy Land?" Pastor Ray and I talked about going to the Holy Land on multiple occasions, and I'm sure he got sick of all of the excuses that I was pulling up on why I couldn't go. But finally, when I realized that I was just making excuses, and I actually listened to the song Oceans, which was the first song that came on when we got onto the Zoom call, I just knew that I had to trust God and trust Pastor Ray, and I just went for it. And now I consider it one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I'm not going to go into any of the details now because I'll cry even more than I already am and will be here forever. But I'll just say that I would not be the same person I am today without going on that trip, seeing all that we saw and meeting all of the people there. I have learned that although we are diverse and we may not look the same, we may not practice the same religion, we can all still connect over shared experiences and most of all, the love that we have for one another. I've become more tolerant and loving and cherish every mix of diverse perspectives in every part of my life. Without the Humble Walk community, I don't know where I would be. It has been a place where I have felt supported, I have been challenged, but most of all, I have been loved unconditionally. I love you all and cannot really describe how much you all mean to me, but hopefully this was a bit of a start. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. And I love the image. Are your family around off camera? I love, Lauren has told me several times, as we've been worshiping, especially remotely, digitally, that her family is nearby and like kind of surrounding, and I love that image of like thinking about the larger faith family and also what Lauren and our students are, like that family that might not always be on screen, but is surrounding us, and just letting us know how much God loves us and how much they love us and support us and walk with us. And Lauren's parents aren't the only parents, I'm sure, who maybe had some questions for me about wanting to take their kids to places that usually made the news for things not as exciting and uplifting as they would have hoped. But I thank you, parents, for not killing me, and thank you, students, for trusting me in that. Thanks. You've heard from just an outstanding group of people. Thank you all for sharing. I think there's a joke, but I think it's true. Like, come to the Humble Walk, where all our students are above average. But really, we are just so truly blessed by you. And as we talked a little bit about some of the staff that is on staff at Campus Ministry, there's also a partner right next door at Hope Lutheran Church. I want to introduce her now, Pastor Julie Brigman. We've worked together for, gosh, is it like 5 or 6 years now? And she is just a blessing to me and to our students. So Julie, I'll pass it over to you.
The feeling is mutual. Yep, I'm Julie Bringman. I'm the pastor at Hope Lutheran Church, the building where Humble Walk meets, and the Sunday morning intergenerational community. And I know some of you are regulars on Sunday morning as well as at Humble Walk. It is a gift to me and to Hope to have this partnership with Humble Walk. By being in relationship with so many students and university-connected people, we remember to always keep learning and always keep growing and always keep expecting new people. Always look for ways that God is moving among us. So I am blessed. I am grateful for this partnership. And I want to say happy graduation and welcome to one version of adulthood. As you are leaving Humble Walk, we really hope that you find a church that matches you in the phase of life that you're entering now. If we were meeting in person, I would invite you to Hope on Sunday mornings and to see you and shake your hand and give you a hug there. While we meet remotely, you're of course welcome at Hope Sunday morning Zoom. Or we hope you find a church in your neighborhood or wherever you land after graduation, a place where you can continue your faith life and connect with peers and with intergenerational community and connect with God. However God is leading this next phase of your life. So I'll put Hope's website in the chat. You're welcome at Hope's Intergenerational Worship on Sunday morning. I know Pastor Ray will continue supporting you and helping you find faith connections, but you can count me as a resource and a pastor and a partner as well as you listen for how God is leading you in this phase of life. Congratulations and blessings.
And one of those ways that I hope God leads you is to graduate school at the University of Maryland. And I also want to say, I remember having a conversation with one unnamed student, about the fact that, hey, you guys are adults when you come to University of Maryland. And they said, no, I don't want to be considered an adult because that means I might have to pay my cell phone bill. So for the parents who are listening here, I'm just going to invite you to continue paying or to pay for your kids' cell phone bill, no matter how old they get. And we won't consider that the mark of adulthood. Well, we're coming here towards the end. I wanted to do a couple of things. One is I wanted to share, you've heard some of the pieces of some of the stuff that happens at Humble Walk, and I just wanted to list out some of the things that we have done or been doing since these graduates started at Maryland. So we do a lot of trips. We try to do 1 international and 2 domestic trips every year to give students a chance to experience new places, to see what God's people are doing in different places, to be pushed, to have your boundaries pushed a little bit to your comfort zone. So our spring break trips, we've gone to South Carolina, and that was to Columbia and Charleston, around race and poverty were the themes for that spring break trip. We went to North Carolina, to Robeson County, doing hurricane relief and also cultural learning about the Lumbee tribe. We went to Puerto Rico in partnership with the church there to do some hurricane relief. Last year, we went to civil rights sites, to Selma, Montgomery, Birmingham, and Atlanta for a trip around race. This year, we were supposed to be headed to Detroit and Flint, but of course, we got canceled for that. In terms of other trips, whether they're winter trips or end of the year trips, you heard it mentioned, we went to Haiti, France, Switzerland, Germany, and Hungary just last year. We did an end of the year trip to Tennessee and Mississippi. That was also around racial justice. We went to the Holy Land. We went to Iowa, to Wartburg Seminary in the wintertime. I don't know whose idea that was, but we experienced -19 or something like that degree weather. Oh gosh, okay. But it was a great trip. Just this last winter, we went to Argentina and Brazil. And we were planning on leaving tomorrow to go to El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, Mexico for a border trip. But of course, that has been canceled for for our safety. Some of the things we do throughout the year, of course, is our dinner and worship. We mentioned Humble Walk dinner and worship Sunday nights. Our Caring and Camino and Start weekly programs where we do mentoring and tutoring with elementary school kids. Joyful Noise, our praise band. We do huddles or small groups. We do an unplugged retreat, leadership team meetings, Guilford Run stream cleanups, 4 of them a year at least. We participate in Good Neighbor Day. We have a Labor Day at the Bay celebration, Homecoming Tailgate, Maryland Day Cookout, Ocean City Retreat. We do an Ecumenical Ash Wednesday and Good Friday service. We do soccer, basketball, volleyball, and maybe even other intramurals. Those interfaith small groups. We have had groups called Faith Matters and Icebreakers. We do an Advent party, yoga, movie nights, game nights, corn maze. We share at the First Look Fair. We have a Christian small group for the LGBTQ community called Reborn This Way. We serve the marching band ice cream every year. We do a Veterans Day celebration at the chapel, pumpkin carving, a Gettysburg leadership retreat. We do campus-wide Together for Jesus and Together for Justice events. We have a Shrove Tuesday pancake supper every year. There's services of remembrance for Martin Luther King. And we have end of the year garden parties. I tried to get most of them. I think I got most of the things that we've done or regularly do. But of course, it's not everything, and of course, not everyone is able to do everything that we offer. But our goal is to give students that variety of different opportunities to engage one another in the surrounding community, to have opportunities to be with God's people near and far, to experience the breadth and depth of God's love for them and for the whole world. And I want to acknowledge we couldn't do any of this without the support of so many people near and far. So I want to say thank you to the many people who make this all possible by giving generously of their time, talents, and treasure. And I want to invite you all here on the call to support the ministry. Graduates, you see how I use that nice invitational language? I invite you to support the ministry. But just as many before have been impacted by this ministry and have supported it to make everything possible for our seniors, so I invite you all to financially support the ministry and leave a legacy for the next leaders in our church and world. Whether that's a one-time or annual gift, whether it's a monthly gift or a legacy gift, every bit helps make the ministry possible and gives our students that Christian community that deeply welcomes them, that roots them, and that pushes them into love and service. So I'll ask you to prayerfully consider supporting this ministry and the students by financially committing to this ministry. And Katie is going to post, or did post, the link to our website that has more information. And of course, I'll be happy. Feel free to contact with me and I'll be happy to share maybe what might be most needed. So students, I know you missed out on your graduation, and as a chaplain at the university, I get to do at least one graduation every year where I give an invocation and or benediction. And even though you missed that, we always joke, and you miss the point where the second you graduate, the university is already asking for you to donate to support the mission, as if those tuition dollars and that thousands of dollars of debt wasn't enough. But for our graduates, families, and friends, we see giving as a chance to joyfully express our values, to support the things we care about, the hopes and dreams we have for our students, our church, and the world. So please continue to support us. Consider to be a continued partner in this ministry. So this is always the hardest part. I always try to, we've talked about it already with the seniors, we try to kind of do this gradual saying of goodbye. So it makes it maybe a little less difficult. but saying goodbye and Godspeed is always the hardest part of doing this work for me. And it's also not really goodbye, because we're going to do some stuff in the summer, whether, you know, online, and we hope to see you again soon in person when we can gather again. We'll continue living, learning, growing, living life, walking humbly with God together, no matter how many miles separate us. We've done it all, and then you had to go and graduate. But I love you all. You each bring unique gifts and experience to this ministry, and we, and especially I, we're better because of your presence here. Thank you, all of you. Thanks all who support this ministry with your prayers, your dinners, and your funds. Thank you, seniors, for blessing us over these years. God be with you until we meet again. So I'll invite you all to unmute yourselves. We end our worship services in the same way every week. And since we moved online, we've actually been unmuting, and even with the sound delay, we do it out loud. So go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. We will go. Bye, everyone.